Hey guys, we should be live, but apparently we are not on the screen for some reason. Why aren't we on the screen?
Uh,
Shoot. That's not amazing. Oh wow. Okay, we are on the screen now. Phenomenal. Welcome to the next episode of the ATP Weekly show that we've been doing here for the past 2 months or so. Today with Mario, we plan to discuss Geneva and Lyon first, and then get into some talks about the French Open draw as well. Thanks, Sean, for the membership for sure. And of course, we also encourage any of you to comment, your thoughts, your questions. We will be getting to that. So yeah, Mario, what do you want to talk about when it comes to Lyon, Geneva? What caught your attention the most this week?
no, yeah. Talking about, it's pretty much the same, but we can start probably
Mm-hmm.
with Geneva.
Okay.
It's already the second title this year for Jari, and in a tournament in which he played also well in the past. His serve can be a good weapon here, there in Geneva, and yeah, in fact he played some really good matches. First of all, the one against Ruud, and also especially the last two, beating back to back in straight set Zverev and Dimitrov. Of course, he probably was going into both matches probably as even the slight favorite, but still doing it in this way, especially today, um, played very well. It's a player who's doing very very well. This year he won 17 matches out of 24 he played, so it's talking about the ATP main draw. Um, so he's living a very good season, and of course his ranking now is showing it. And French Open is really different. Talking about the conditions, uh, so let's see if he's going to be really able to adapt very well. But for sure, he's still one of a guy to keep an eye on. Just because we know that he's able to do some kind of things, he's going to be probably a little bit more difficult, because Geneva feels like kind of perfect for the way he plays. But still, sometimes being confident and can play a role in make you playing a bit better than usual, and so I'm still interested uh, to watch him in Paris, of course.
Yeah, Geneva is definitely not the perfect Roland Garros warm up, but that shouldn't really determine your playing choices when you're like Nicolas Jarry and you're like not among the top contenders to win Paris. Definitely not. As you said, Geneva, he only played it once actually in 2019, but he was so close to winning the title. There was a huge dramatic finish with Alexander Zverev in 2019. He missed too much points. This year he came back to to try to do it again, and he actually managed it. Of course, maybe he got a walkover in the second round, but since then, he beat Ruud, Zverev, and Dimitrov, so like the first, third, and fourth seeds. He actually had the chance to beat all the top three seeds if Fritz finished up the match against Dimitrov in the semis, which would have been a fantastic achievement. But regardless, yeah, definitely some really perfect conditions for him. Very similar to Santiago, probably, where, of course, he also won earlier this year. The only other WTA title that he has was in Bostad, which I guess plays also a little faster, a touch faster than most clay. So you really can very easily see where Nicolas Jarry is going to be most effective. I do think that at the French he can be dangerous too. He has a pretty nice draw from what I remember. Delian in the opening round, who has been struggling physically, so definitely gets a lot of nice momentum for Lyon and from Geneva. And I do think that this will probably help him. I don't think that we'll be going. I don't think we'll be going that deep into like the all the players here, but one guy I think we should probably touch upon for sure is Casper Ruud, who came to Geneva as a two-time defending champion. He won it in 2021, he won it in 2022, and it didn't stop him from going well at Roland Garros in last year. And he came here, he beat JJ Wolf, and then lost to Nicolas Jarry. Mario, have we learned anything about Casper Ruud's disposition this week? Where do you think this start in Geneva, the two matches that he played here, where do you think that it puts him just before Roland Garros?
Yeah, not the ideal clay season, that's for sure. But at least I'm still from Rome. I'm still watching a better player than a few weeks before. Yeah, of course, having won the last two editions of the event showed that he can play really, really well in these kind of conditions, and so it's pretty disappointing for him to lose in the quarterfinals. Yeah, watching also Jarry playing in the next two matches probably tell us that the loss is not that bad. But still there are I don't know, too many close matches that he's losing this year, and probably last year it wouldn't have been the case. I don't think I've learned a lot about him, to be honest, in this week, because I mean, I was pretty much sure that he would have beaten JJ Wolf in his opening round. And against Jarry, I had these doubts, and after the first set, I was okay with his performance. I mean, it hasn't been a clearly bad performance, but still, I don't know. In some way, it's not that good. The fact that he lost that close battles. I think that probably the best of five can probably help him a little bit if some matches get more complicated than what it should be. But to be honest, I don't really think we have that much of indication from this tournament. Still some kind of improvement comparing to the first part of the clay season, but I don't think it's that enough. He's been struggling on clay especially in the altitude with this big service. I mean, it's pretty normal to do it, but I don't know. It's yeah, nothing really well to say. I mean, it's pretty average tournament in my opinion.
Yeah, hey Max, hey Elena. Yeah, from my perspective, it also wasn't really that huge. A friend texted me after the loss to Jarry and said, like, is Casper Ruud the worst number two in the men's game ever? And I was like, if you came to this conclusion, I would have to go through the history books, but maybe I wouldn't disagree. But is that really like when you want to say that, like, after a fast clay loss to Nicolas Jarry, everyone can can lose on fast clay to Nicolas Jarry. So that's basically how I feel about this. Nothing special really. I don't think it really changes much. We've seen Ruud produce some amazing tennis the past couple of weeks at least in moments, especially the first set and a half against Rune. So yeah, I don't think it really changes much for Roland Garros. Maybe it's actually even better for him, that he lost earlier and didn't have to play four matches. Who knows? But I think, right, this is probably where we can leave Geneva, unless you have someone else that we would have to talk about, and then we could get to Lyon.
No, I think that we can go to Lyon. I mean, with the huge news of Fields winning the first ATP Tour title of his career at 18. Um, mm, pretty strange path to the title, at least in the first part of the week, since he got the withdrawal of Roger Aliassim. Not that he would have been unbeatable, given what we we have seen or we haven't seen from Roger Aliassim in the clay season. Then there was the Immers disqualification in I think it was in the second round. Something has happened, but of course he played two nice matches in the semi-final and in the final. His tennis seems adapting very well to clay. A huge moment also because of the French crowd, and the family was there, and it's been nice to watch a new player in the ATP winner circles, especially given the fact that Fields is a really good young prospect, and it can be also helpful to French tennis in a period in which, yeah, there are still, of course, a lot of French players, but comparing to the past years, there's not really in this particular moment, for example, a top 20 guy, and so French people can make some dreams probably after this title. I still don't know how much he will go far, but it's a good news for French tennis in general and for him.
I know how far he will go, and it's sky high. No, I mean we talked about it many times. I think maybe not necessarily with you, but like on these streams, people have been asking about Fields quite a lot, which makes sense. Back to back ATP semifinals in February, huge achievement, of course. Was this a very soft ATP Tour title run? Absolutely yes. Does that mean he doesn't deserve it? That's not what I would say. I think he is definitely worthy of this. He definitely has like a top 50 level at least right now. Yeah, it was really soft because of the default, because of the Australia withdrawal. He played a great match against Zhang. He was like, cramping hard against Nakashima and barely made it through. And of course, today it was actually France Rundolo who felt the nerves more, which was kind of surprising. I don't know where that puts him ahead of Paris, whether he's going to be able to have, just rest up before the Davidovich Fokina match. But, he is absolutely insane. And I don't think, like, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter saying that maybe he's like new to clay and like has to learn on it a bit, but that's not really the case, right? I mean, even if you look at what he's been playing in his pro career, he has actually the most matches on clay. He, of course, was a Roland Garros finalist back in the junior days, and it's not like he must be learning it. I don't think it's where he's most effective. I think he is very much vulnerable to someone just being very rally tolerant and making him play a lot of balls. It certainly happens quite a lot, but it's not like he cannot play on clay. And I'm glad he had this run. Definitely not the strongest, but there will be stronger runs from him. No Ghosty, we haven't talked about Linette or Hurkacz yet. We might later, or we might not. We'll see. I still have no clue why John keeps saying something about German qualifiers. When did I say that German qualifiers were going to do well? I have no clue. I don't even know if there's a German qualifier, to be honest with you, at the French this year. Like off the top of my head, I don't think so. Hanfmann is a lucky loser who still might get it. Kepfer was also in the final qualies round. I don't know if there's a German qualifier, so I still have no clue what you're talking about. But that's fine. Arthur Fields definitely is not a German qualifier, but he was a French wildcard into Lyon, and he is absolutely ridiculous, and that's amazing for him. As Mario also touched upon, the French tennis, like they have been looking for someone like this ever since like it was clear that the four musketeers are going to retire quite soon, and Fields is definitely the best bet in my eyes. Some people would say Van Asch, but I think these people have not like watched him play and watched Fields play, and it's pretty clear who, at least for now, has more staying power at the top. It's also a pretty nice contrast of like how they got to the top 100, right? Because for Van Asch, it's just challenger runs, and Fields basically got a couple of challenger finals at the beginning of the year, and then yeah, just was an absolute force on the ATP tour as well. Hopefully, more from him. It's a tough opening round draw at Roland Garros. It's especially tough now that he played in Lyon. Or I guess this run was not actually that long, right? Even though the match against Nakashima was very tough on him physically, he only played, well, 7.5 sets here. So 7.8, let's say, against Mikael Ymer. So so yeah, it's not impossible that he recovers until Monday and gives us a great show, which I hope this will be like a stadium court match. Anything else, Mario, from Lyon that we have to mention?
Well, no, I still think that yeah, of course, you were talking about the final, which saw Fields playing really well, and Cerundolo showing a little bit of nerves, but still quite a positive week for Cerundolo, who is now 16th in the race, and still some work in progress for him, and I think that his section of the draw is not really impossible. The French Open, at least till the fourth round, because I think that he has Fritz in the third round, and I don't think that it's an impossible match. So this is also an interesting part of the draw now that we are going to look at it, because with Rune, Fritz, but also Cerundolo making some part on it, and so yeah, I think that that's it for Lyon. I think Fields hits probably the biggest story of this week in the ATP Tour, and it was worthy of a nice mention.
Yeah, I guess for Cerundolo, it's just a bit disappointing to be so nervous in the final, right? As Jane is mentioning, he was like trying to boot someone from his box. I don't know if it was like his coach or whatever, but he was definitely doing that. And yeah, just probably you would expect that Fields would be the more nervous player, the one who feels the pressure. No pun intended, actually. But it wasn't the case at all. It was actually Cerundolo, who has been there before, who has won ATP titles before, and yet somehow that was the other way around. Anyway, we've talked for about Lyon and Geneva, so not perhaps not as long as usual on the ATP Tour events, but this is actually going to be a bit of a different ATP Weekly, where we actually talk about talk more about the French Open. There are a couple of qualifier peaks that I'm going to mention later. They're not German though, because there aren't any German qualifier peaks. So still, I have no clue what John is talking about. But anyway, let's actually Elena also came up with like a very bold one in the chat already, talking about Yun Cheng Shang to make it out of his quarter, which wow is quite huge. I think at first we will probably talk about the favorites more, and maybe at the end there will be some time, to for us to slam some very unrealistic upset picks and like some very unrealistic qualifiers to make it the second week, which I have two
Table wheel.
prepared. Not save of Wield. No, I can spoil. I can spoil that. He just got a nightmare. But anyway, yeah, maybe Mario. I will ask you that. last week, I think, or maybe it was like some other show. I can't remember. I'm talking about tennis like every day, and I can't remember where I say what. But we definitely had this. I'm just laughing at Strawberry Fields. And anyway, Strawberry Fields forever. Um, anyway, we were talking about this, and like we were talking about the tiers of contenders for Roland Garros, and like basically for both of us, it was like Alcaraz, Djokovic, then Rune, Medvedev, Tsitsipas. And so the question, like from me to you, Mario, right now is like whether after you saw the draw, was there any change in these contenders for you? Was there someone who went up, someone who went down in your mind?
I think that the draw made me pretty clear that Tsitsipas is going to be the fifth among the five
Okay.
that we have mentioned, because I mean, they can lose before, but if everything goes how it should be in terms of the seeded players, the draw has him making the very very difficult tasks to beat back to back Alcaraz and Djokovic if he wants to make the final. And I mean, it's uh, it cannot happen because we know that of course things don't always go the way they should go in terms of um, the I don't know, the ranking, the seeding, and also the form of the players. But the draw has been pretty harsh on him. But of course, being the number 5 seed, it can happen. And so I think that probably if I have to put the 5 players in in an order, the 5 players we mentioned before, I'm probably going to make him the fifth in this ranking.
Yeah, I do agree with this. I remember saying that I didn't think Tsitsipas was
Mm.
capable of winning this event, even like if he is to play, if he was to play Alcaraz, then someone else, or the other way around, someone else of the top 5 contenders, of course, top 4 contenders, I guess, not counting him. After the draw was made, it certainly became like even less feasible for me that Stefanos Tsitsipas is winning this event, which sounds kind of weird. This was always supposed to be his best chance, but now that Rune and Alcaraz are here, now that also Medvedev is like not necessarily a free win for him on clay. I mean, free win is maybe a stretch, but I guess if they met on clay in 2022, let's say at Roland Garros, Tsitsipas would have been a huge favorite. Right now, of course, that meeting doesn't even really happen until the final with the draw that we got. But provided that there's a chance that Tsitsipas would have to go through Alcaraz, Djokovic, and then Medvedev or Rune, there is actually no way. I think like there's actually no way for him to win this event. If that's the case, he has such terrible matchups as well against most of them. He has never beaten Rune. He has never beaten Alcaraz. He has also never he has also never. Sorry, he has also never. He has also never beaten Djokovic on clay. He only beat him twice on hard courts. On clay against Medvedev, right now he's actually losing 1 and 2 in the head-to-head. So it's really rough times for him. And yeah, I just don't see him beating the other contenders really, and probably like not even one of them. And if he needs to beat 3 or 2, it's just a bit rough. Ghosty said something pretty interesting now that Tsitsipas continuing to win titles on clay is like a unicorn riding a skateboard. I mean, it's his best surface. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it gives him a lot of time to set up for the backhand, So I think it's pretty clearly his best surface actually. But and it was supposed to be his chance at the slam, right? That was supposed to be the one slam that he could win. But we talked about it last week a little bit. That right now with the generation of Rune, Alcaraz, and Sinner coming in, they might actually very very soon they might be too strong for him actually. And yeah, it's pretty sad times, I guess, in this regard for the Greek, which sounds super weird to say because he was of course the runner up at the last slam. Didn't come close to winning it, I would say, in the final, but he was the runner up. And if the draw opens up like this, he could, he could possibly win it. But that actually brings me to another point. The Like the top 8 seeds that we have here, Mario, they look
Mhm.
very strong, right? Don't they? Like every single one of these players could very easily make the quarters, could make the semis. We are actually like thinking about these matches like Tsitsipas Alcaraz, Alcaraz Djokovic, Rune Medvedev against Alcaraz or Djokovic. We are talking about these matchups a lot because it seems just very safe in this draw to look ahead, because the seeds just either have a very nice section for themselves or like are just really strong. And yeah, I guess maybe I could ask you this question: like if we're talking about the top 8 seeds, so from Alcaraz to Sinner, who will not make the quarters?
Um, I mean, I think that I have actually to. I'm checking very very fast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, Tsitsipas seems having a quite soft draw till the
Yeah.
quarterfinals. Mm, and so I think he's Alcaraz. I mean, it's
Also a
probably a
soft
little.
draw, right? I mean, Alcaraz
Yeah,
also has a soft draw and is, of course, Alcaraz.
yeah, I think yes, it's probably a little bit, a little less than the Tsitsipas draw, but given the fact that Alcaraz is, uh,
Alcaraz. Alcaraz is
yeah,
Alcaraz. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Um, Djokovic is not a very easy draw in terms of probably, but just because I think that probably Davidovic Fokina was one of the worst pick he could have had in the third round in terms of the seeded players. Um,
But that's also the only opponent he could lose to, right? Before the quarters.
yeah, I mean, I can't see him losing, for example, to Urkac
No, no,
in
no
Paris,
play.
and neither Kachanov. I think no, Kachanov is in
Kachanov is
Rublev's.
in another, yeah, in another section. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean probably Rublev can lose to Kachanov in my opinion, but Rublev, if in a bad day, probably can lose to Jere too. I don't know. You're making me having a comparison, so probably Rublev is not the safest
Mm-hmm.
of the eight. Um, yeah, Rune, given the fact that it's clay, should make the quarters, but. mm, mm, okay, I'm trying to in Italy we make this
Milk the
gesture to
cow. I don't
say
know.
yeah, to say to go fast.
Okay.
I'm telling you that
No worries. We have all the time in the world.
I think that uh, probably Rublev, and we have here, and probably Ruud can have some issues in their pots. That's the conclusion
Mm-hmm.
I'm making, considering the 8 seats. Um, and then of course Sinner could meet Zverev, but we so far he hasn't really been able to make very good wins. Um, so yeah, I'm going with these two names, Rublev and Ruud. If I have to choose the less safe uh,
Mm-hmm.
seats among the top 8.
I have a third one, and this is where one of my big qualifier picks comes in. But first, also, Sean, I very much agree with this what you said. But at the same time, like, who is going to eliminate Alcaraz and Djokovic before Tsitsipas can actually, play them? Alcaraz, I mean, there's just no one he can lose to in the first four rounds, I think. So it has to be him. And Djokovic, yeah, maybe Davidovich Fokina in the third round. That's pretty nasty. But if Novak is actually going to play himself into form, he also should be there. So yeah, that's I guess the problem for Tsitsipas for me. But I'm not talking about Tsitsipas because, as Mario said, I think his draw is really really soft. Who I'm going to talk about though is Jannik Sinner, and it's not like his draw is really it's not tough either, especially in the first three rounds. I think Miller in the opening round, that should be easy. Altmaier, Hisler, if he's fine physically, it should be okay. Dimitrov, I don't think is also that dangerous. But I actually think that Aslan Karatsev will beat him in the fourth round. And here is where the fun starts. I generally don't like picking Aslan Karatsev to do stuff. I have to say that because he's obviously like so inconsistent, and he can lose to anyone. He can beat anyone. These sort of players, that they're not predictable. However, when I look at his draw and he plays Popyrin, who's like still pretty poor on clay in the opening round, then he has to play Tiafoe, who's not in great shape. I think we can easily say that. Then he has to play Zverev, who's still so far off his best, and not Zverev of
Yeah, yeah.
2022 Roland Garros. Honestly, like if he beats them all, I think he's the favorite for me against Sinner, and it wouldn't really be anything like that hasn't happened before if Karatsev made the quarters here. And I mean, the quarters, yeah, the quarters. That's what I was talking about. I
To be
actually
honest,
think
I
he has
don't
a
know
very,
why, but
very good chance.
mm, I don't think that he's going to be there. Mm, I totally agree with his qualities and the fact that he'll be the favorite in all these matches that he's going to play. But I don't know if I trust him to win here three best of five matches. To be honest, uh, I have some doubts.
Ghosty, I was not referring to his fitness. I was just referring to his form. I mean, the fact that he won Houston means nothing. It's not real
Yeah,
red clay. It's synthetic, and also like the field he played there. Steve Johnson, Jason Kubler, Hies Brouwer, only Echeverry, like a real clay specialist. And since he has been okay but not doing anything special in Madrid and Rome, I think he's very vulnerable to Karatsev right now. I don't
yeah.
think he's vulnerable
Also, of
to
course.
Krajinovic, but he is to Karatsev.
Also, of course, uh, I mean, we are talking now, but if they're going to meet in the fourth round, we are going to have three matches to watch and try to make some conclusion. Of course, it's going to be very tough if they meet there. Uh, but still, I don't know exactly. Uh, I still struggle to see him to cruise till the fourth round, and I think that sometimes he has uh, still some tough times in which he can struggle. For example, yeah, Popperin is not that good on clay, but I think that if he serves well, probably he can make some damage. I don't know. Of course, it's not going to be very very easy because even if not in good form, still beating back to back Popperin, Tiafo, and for example Zverev, it's not a task for everyone. Let's say this. Karatsev has the qualities; he has to do so. Yeah, it's a dark horse, that's for sure.
I mean, of course, winning Houston is like gives you something. I mean, it was 2 months ago. It was not on red clay that we know in Europe. It's a completely different court, and like the quality that he had to show there was a lot weaker than playing some than what he will have to show playing someone like Karatsev here. I'm not saying like Karatsev has to beat Tefo, but it's not like Tiafoe isn't vulnerable right now. Like Tiafoe is not a serious contender to go deep unless he actually takes this draw, because it's open for everyone there. Zverev, Karatsev, Tiafoe, I think they are very, very similar to each other in
Yeah.
terms of like power level, and probably Sinner like right along with them. So there is a possibility for someone in this draw. I don't know, in this section of the draw. I don't know if it will be Karatsev or Tiafoe or Zverev taking it, or to the fourth round, or if it maybe will be just Sinner cruising into the quarters. But I do think that Karatsev is definitely like very similarly strong to someone like Tiafoe right now. My other question, Mario, to you is like about Medvedev, because for years we've been sort of talking about this guy not being great on clay, not liking it, and then of course this year comes. Maybe Monte Carlo wasn't like super perfect yet. Maybe Madrid wasn't amazing, but like as a whole, this has been an absolutely phenomenal year for him, on clay as well, of course. And my question is like, are we maybe like too early? Is it like too early to just look at Medvedev at the French and be like, okay, he has to make the semis, or is it actually justified? Given how short-lived actually his clay improvement has been.
Oh, well, I mean, he has played at a decent level in Paris before, at least in some matches. So even in previous years, he was showing that he could have um, he could do something good here. I mean, I give him a chance. Then, of course, it's not like still so safe, in my opinion. But I'm thinking that first 3 rounds, I'm expecting him to be fine. And then I think that in fourth round probably it can be some danger, but only if probably if he meets probably the winner of the Draper Echeverry first round. They can I feel that he can be a match to pay a bit of attention for him. Yeah, I mean, you're right that in this draw we have a very strong lineup in terms of the top seeds. And of course, the fact that Medvedev comes from winning Rome, which usually has been also the I think the tournament that gave us the clear indications for the French Open. So of course, there's more hype in Medvedev's chances, and I think that of course also his mindset is better than in last years. He's having a very very good season. Slam usually is a bit different. But in some way, I also trust more this year his ability of problem solving. So I think that his chances are way higher. That's for sure. Still, I prefer to meet him here than at the US Open, for example. So I feel that his chances are higher than in last seasons, and especially last year, since French Open was only one of the two clay events he played due to the injury. But still, I'm not like he's 100% to be there. I feel like some matches can put him in some kind of danger. Then of
Yeah.
course he's going to enter the matches as a favorite, but that doesn't mean that it's like that safe as an option like it was, for example, approaching the Australian Open in 2022. Like you had him you were pretty much sure that he was going to be that far. This year, the chances are pretty high, but you there's always some question mark, in my opinion.
Um, yeah, I also would be like a lot more careful if the draw wasn't so good for him. I'm not necessarily talking about the first round. And honestly, if Thiago Seyboth drew Casper Ruud instead of Daniil Medvedev, I would be screaming that it's going to be an upset right now. Medvedev, I don't think he can beat him. I don't think he can beat him. I mean, it's so hard to like estimate where Seyboth will be when playing a guy like this because he has played defenders this year. Some he has struggled against, some he has just absolutely demolished. Recently, he lost the semi-final to Puccinelli de Almeida, for example, in Brazil, and it's just really hard to guess like where he's going to be against a player of this caliber. I don't think he can beat a defender like this. I think he will eventually, I think he will eventually just end up hitting way too many errors. But this is probably like the toughest match that Medvedev has until the quarters for me. And yeah, just because of the draw, I actually think we can maybe pencil in Medvedev into the quarters. And then, of course, he has a great head-to-head against Sinner. If it's like Zverev, no, Zverev actually maybe if he played himself into form, but if it's like Tiafoe getting to the quarters with Medvedev, I don't think he would be an issue. Karatsev, Zverev, Sinner, maybe they could be. I don't think Sinner I don't think clay is the right moment for Sinner to end his drought of wins against Medvedev though. So I actually think that he is worthy of like just penciling him into the semifinals. However, that's mostly because of how his draw panned out. I maybe would have been saying something completely different if it wasn't the case. I think yeah, Ghosty is also talking about Lechka's Truth. Maybe we'll talk about like our favorite round one matchups or something in a second. But I think this is the right time for me to unveil my second qualifier pick. And John will be very happy about this actually, because it's not a German qualifier, as there aren't any German qualifiers, but it's a German speaking qualifier, which kind of almost is there. I mean, I still have no clue what that German qualifier thing is about, but I am talking about Sebastian Offner, who I think will make the fourth round. I wanted to say third, but that wouldn't be bold at all. Like he will be the favorite in his first round. He will probably be the favorite in his second round. I am
Uh,
actually saying he's going to make the fourth round. He is
Let me
playing
find
Maxim
him in
Cressy.
control.
He is playing Maxim Cressy in the opening round.
Ah, yeah, I have him. I added the brackets, and I was like, yeah, he's winning this, and then I was like, okay, he's winning this one too. So yeah, I
Third or
checked his
fourth?
name.
Third or fourth?
I still haven't.
Ah, okay.
It's the first. Which section? Ah, okay, I found him.
Because third round is like not ballsy at all. I think. Let me say this: Cressy
Correct.
hasn't won a match on clay this year.
I made
McDonald
wrong.
hasn't won a match on clay this year. Korda hasn't won a match on clay this year. And of course, for Korda, this isn't really like a big issue regarding his clay pedigree. Like he is actually pretty good on clay, but he just, of course, since the Australian Open has only played twice, hasn't looked that great. McDonald, he's had decent clay seasons, but this year, I mean, he's just been unwatchable. I saw him live in Cagliari, and Jesus, it was just impossible to bear really when he played Taro Daniel, which surprised me, because I've seen Mikey play good matches on clay, so that was something. But also, I think I even watched him practicing a bit earlier before that Daniel match, and he was also just unable to put balls into the court. So maybe this year it's just not working out for him. Cressy, usually he would win a match on clay. Against Offner, I don't know if he can do it. Like if Offner delivers mentally with the sort of regular, consistent force that he's been this year. 35 wins already. This is
Yeah,
actually more than he's had in a full season since 2000. Like the most that he's had, like even comparing to full seasons, I think since 2017. And then in the third round, he would play Auger Aliassime, Fonini, Kubler, Diaz Acosta. Diaz
yeah,
Acosta, he's just eliminated. Kubler, not really an issue. He would be the favorite there. Fonini, maybe he would be the favorite there as well. Auger Aliassime is the only player there. But like, Auger Aliassime has. I know last year he did well at the French, but he had 14 clay matches going into
Yeah, yeah,
Paris last year.
right.
This year he has 3, 1 win over Yamas Ruiz, who, not to take anything away from him, is not really a main tour player yet. Also has just withdrawn from Lyon. I have no clue like what to read into the what can we get from this, because well, maybe it's just preventive. But anyway, Auger-Aliassime, the last 3 years at the French, even when he did well, he was actually love to down 2 sets to love down against Juan Pablo Varillas. 2 years ago, he lost to Seppi
Yeah,
as
in
a
fact,
huge
I think
favorite.
that also
3 years ago,
for
he
me.
lost to Nishioka as a huge favorite. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's Offner in the fourth round, and I
Yeah,
really think it's possible. He got like a godlike draw. There's just it's impossible to land in a better section than Sebastian Offner has. I think as
yeah,
if you're like an unseeded player, a qualifier.
yeah. No, I totally agree. In fact, I was also thinking that even mm, for Nini, for example, the draw isn't that bad. That if he plays, for example, at the Rome level, he can beat Auger Aliassime, in my opinion. Of course, it's a big question mark right now with at this stage of his career, but mm, I don't know. This section of the draw is um, really open, and have to say that I agree with the Offner pick. Yeah. Mm.
John says that his semis were Novak, Carlos, Rune, Sinner. I guess there's one bold pick in there, right? Not many would probably have Sinner in there. Um, would I? I don't know. I mean, there's just
Yeah,
like
but
all the
it
seeds
could
are
have been
so good, right?
bolder.
I mean, all the seeds are so good, right? Like all the top 8 seeds could easily make the quarters. Like if someone's losing before the quarters, then for me it's probably Rublev or Sinner. But at the same time, I think it's even possible that we will get all the top 8 seeds in the quarters. Like it's not that it wouldn't be that much of a shock. And then who knows? I mean, Sinner beating Medvedev. We haven't seen that matchup on clay. Maybe. But yeah, I would probably say that Sinner in the semis, he's not like among the top 2 or 3 that could make it from this quarter. I think for me,
I
well,
thought
maybe that's
I
actually a
always thought
stretch.
that probably a grass court can be the best chance for Sinner to beat Medvedev, but I don't know. It's not the
Yeah,
time to talk about that.
maybe. Anyway, yeah, what else should we do? I think what Ghosty mentioned just a second ago was Lehechka against Struff. So I think we could talk about like our favorite round one matchups. Maybe we could just take turns or whatever. Mario, what particular first round matchup here in the main draw of Roland Garros 2023 excites you?
uh, I'm I'm watching a bit of matchups, and I'm saying that okay, of course we have that. I think that's the one of the matches that anyone would mention is the one between Davidovic, Fokina, and Fields. But I'm watching Vavassori Kecmanovic. Should be can be an interesting match. Uh, and then who we have? Uh,
Sorry, which one did you just say? I got lost.
Vavassori
Vavasori
Kecmanovic.
Kecmanovic. Okay.
And mm, 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 I'm going down. Okay, so I mean, if yeah, but here I'm just talking about the environment, the atmosphere, and probably we can see some scenes in the pair Nori match, but I'm not really talking about some technical things. I'm talking about if pair has his head on the shoulders, he can with the environment, the crowd, and it can be a fun match to watch. but of course we never know before which pair will show up. Um, yeah, the
Yeah,
Rush
Nurlan.
match
If,
can be a
mhm.
bit interesting.
Yeah,
Do you
Nurlan,
know?
it's kind of hard to like. You would have to limit it to something, I guess. Top three fastest hard courts, but like outdoor on the main tour, probably you have to have Cincinnati in there, Dubai. I don't know, maybe Shanghai. We haven't seen it in a few years, but it was also pretty fast. Um, I don't know. Is there something that I'm like forgetting? I probably not. Dubai, Cincy, definitely up there when it comes to outdoor hard courts on the main tour. Of course, there are some rapid indoor challengers, like of course Ace Manning, Ortisei, and etc. But depends. Yeah, Miami is not that far away probably as well from right now at least. Since they moved venues and etc. and also sped it up this year. So you are just talking about Per Nori. I actually think this will be great. I remember Per just giving some real issues to Casper Ruud 2 years ago at the French when no one believed in him because like Benoit Per since the
Mhm.
pandemic basically
Yeah.
until maybe the beginning of this season was just absolutely awful. And yeah, then he just comes out and plays four amazing sets against Ruud. And yeah, this is one of these matches. I don't think Benoit Per is like ever returning to the top 100 or something like this, but there's no question to me that in like an individual match on a specific day, he can still play amazing tennis. And yeah, Nori has not been convincing in recent weeks, so I can totally see it. And like right next to that match, there's also Pui Rodionov, which was a very fun match in the qualies. It
Mhm.
was
Yeah.
really weird too. Like the first set, there's just Pui got smashed off the court. Well, smashed off the court maybe isn't necessarily like what happened in terms of the dynamics of play, but like he was not close to winning the first set at all. Definitely not. And then he just makes this inspired comeback. You could see that the crowd is really giving him that extra bit of energy and motivation, and then Rodionov barely wins a point in the third set. So I think the reason why it's so exciting right now that I just have absolutely no clue what's going to happen. I still have my
Yeah.
doubts regarding like the fitness of Pui maybe if it goes into like the fifth set. I don't know if he's going to hold up. I had these doubts in the qualies as well, and it just seemed like with the crowd, he was just going to, he played some unbelievable tennis for the first time in years, basically. So I have no clue what will happen. Rodionov definitely crumbled under pressure in the when they played in the final qualifying round, but does that happen again a few days later? Absolutely no clue, and that should be really fun. And we already saw in the qualifying that the crowd really really likes Pui there, and I mean they will support all Frenchmen, but he I think got like some insane they backed him up in really in a way that I think helped him push through all these tough moments that he had against Seng and Rodionov, especially as in both matches he had a bit of a slow start.
I wanted to ask you about eventually
Mm-hmm.
Zeppieri if he's going to make the second round against Casper Ruud. I don't think that he's going to be an upset, but in some part of the match, do you think that he can put some troubles on Casper?
Elias Mer, I don't know. I
No,
mean,
I'm talking about Zeppieri.
sorry.
If he beats
Okay.
Bublik,
Zapieri, if
which
he beats
is
Bublik,
possible in my opinion.
it's like a 50-50. I mean, Bublik has an amazing match on clay sometimes, and then he wins 4 games against Giron or wins 4 games against Mayo, right? So who knows? Zapieri Ruud, I don't think so. Like I think Zapieri is a little too one-dimensional to win a match like this.
Mhm.
Of course, the forehand is great, but like I think you have to. I think you gotta have more to trouble Ruud. I think maybe for different reasons, but also Eliasimov doesn't really have a shot in the opening round to me. But I do think that like Ruud is vulnerable. But think it might be like to some more dangerous qualifiers than Zapieri or Elias
Yeah.
Immer, who are probably like middle of the pack. They do have like very high upsides. So if Elias Immer plays the match of his life or Zapieri plays the match of his life, definitely it can happen. But I'm not sure if how possible that is. Bublik probably has a better shot than Zapieri, but
No,
that's
I'm
not
talking that
controversial, right?
I'm thinking that Ruud's draw probably is not that soft in terms of players that
Um,
can
it's
have a
just
chance.
Bublik, really, to me. I think. Like, if he beats Bublik, is there anyone else there that could really kick him out after
Mm,
the second round? I mean, like third, fourth.
uh, yeah, but still there are some good players. Like I know that conditions are very different, but some good players like Jari, Struff, Zangor Lajovic that. Um, uh, yeah, in Paris it's not that easy to imagine that upset, but mm, if yeah, with Casper lately, and given that these players put some troubles to him in the past, even if in different kind of clay courts. um, I mean, comparing to other big seeded draw, this is not that soft, in my opinion.
Yeah, Bublik doing well in Madrid, and in general, players doing well in Madrid doesn't really matter anymore, like at all. I mean, these are just such unique conditions at the 700-meter
Yeah, I think that
altitude.
Public had a good Rome.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's more relevant. I agree. But like it's just how Bublik is, right? Sometimes he plays
yeah,
an amazing match even on clay, which doesn't suit him whatsoever. And then he loses 4 games. He wins 4 games against Giron, like he did in Geneva just now. Also fast clay, by the way. So and yeah, and he still wins just 4 games against Giron and gets bageled. So you never really know with him. There's also some interesting conversations in the chat. I will answer this. I don't know how serious that question was because Ghosty just told me not to treat him seriously, but I'm actually going to choose to treat this question seriously and tell you that the odds were exactly 60% because we
60%.
had free withdrawals at the when the qualifying finished. It's actually still just 3 withdrawals, and because of that, 5 players were in the lucky loser draw, which was Rodionov, Stricker, Diaz Acosta, Hanfman, and Bagnis, and Rodionov, Stricker, and Diaz Acosta got in. So I'm actually not sure who was the first Rodionov or Stricker because the second drone was definitely Diaz Acosta, but so either he was the first drone or third drone, but of course it doesn't really matter for anything really. So yeah. There's also some conversation about Sinner and Tsitsipas and their likelihood of winning a slam. I mean, clearly Sinner is more likely if we're talking
Yeah,
about the whole career. If we're talking about Roland Garros 2022, I think it's Tsitsipas still, though he has Alcaraz in his quarter. But if we're talking about their whole careers, it's not even close for me.
yeah. I mean, even talking about U.S. Open this year, I mean, it's still far, but I think that chances would be more uh, for Sinner than Tsitsipas. Sinner is also a better result, I think, on at Wimbledon already than Tsitsipas. Yeah, I think that he has higher chances as for now in and talking about the career. But of course, I mean, then we never know. Because it also matters about what kind of draw you face and the chances that you have in that particular week and the physical state. And so yeah, it's a bit difficult. When I say this, I'm talking just about the potential that I think that this is going to happen.
Yeah, other first round match that I think we already sort of mentioned and everyone is excited for is Fils Davidovich Fokina. Should be some insane
Mhm.
shot making. Hopefully they get put on like Suzanne Langlen or whatever, like one of the stadium courts. Hopefully also Fils will have enough just fuel for this. The insane romantic in me wants to see Fils Djokovic in the round 3. I think it's too much to ask for though. I'm not even sure Fierce would beat like Vanash or Cecchinato in the second round. I think he is still vulnerable to pretty solid players on clay, and Davidovich Fokina is probably among them. So yeah, I just think this one will definitely be aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah,
Struff. So what are you guys talking about basically? Like when Struff where? So like
and that's part
Struff
of
to
the
beat
draw.
Ruud. Okay, Struff to beat Ruud. That's what you mean. Let me look at the draw again.
Yes,
Oh, I know.
uh,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Struff, I think that probably is going to be, yeah, probably the favorite among these players to make the fourth round. Mm,
Ashley is asking where he is in the draw. So basically, Struff is in Casper Ruud's fourth round, and he actually has like a very tough section himself. I think
mm,
you've got Paul playing Streaker there. You also have Jari. You also have
yeah,
Medvedovic against Giron and Lehechka Struff. Honestly, everyone here can make the fourth round for me. Like Struff, as I've said many times, he will not be a super consistent player.
yeah.
So
I'm not really giving a chance for this tournament in Poland, Lechka. Mm, talking about how I saw them recently.
mhm.
But of course, they have the quality to be there. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I
it's
mean,
going to
Lehechka
be.
has just retired in Turin, right? So we don't really know what his like state is going to be. But if Medvedovic beats Giron, he is, by the way, the favorite for the bookies. Which I really don't know what to think about this, because I feel like my yeah, just the way I how much I enjoy Medvedevic's game and how much I believe in it, I think is just blurring my judgment, and I cannot stay objective about this much. But if he played Struff, I'm not really certain that the German would prevail. If Jari played Struff or Striker played Struff,
Yeah,
these
of
are like
course.
total serve-bot matches. So I think Struff is very, very far from the forefront, even if he's the main contender to get there. But like it's not really a huge percentage.
Yeah, no, no,
Um,
it's a
Ghosty is
really
gonna fly to Poland apparently.
wow.
That's gonna be in like a month, more or less. I'm actually at the. Well, I'm currently finishing my MA thesis. I have like 51 pages. I'm planning to write like four more, and send it over to my however you call the woman who supervisor, I guess, supervises my thesis. And
Mm.
I'm planning to add like the finishing thoughts, conclusions, and etc. So actually, you should already buy your tickets probably. And yeah, see you here in July. No more next gens win slams, emo. So next gens, I guess, would be what the because there are always new next gens coming. So I guess you mean like the
Yeah.
original next gen, when in 2017 they established the next gen finals and
Mm.
like the guys that were there. If we're talking about that, I agree with this. I suppose I can't really remember who was there, but I think it was like Rublev, Tsitsipas, right? No, Tsitsipas was actually in 2018, even, right?
Yeah,
Um,
Medvedev was there,
oh, Medvedev. So
and
of
it
course,
was
like no
yeah,
more. So Medvedev is allowed in this thought of Josh. Medvedev is actually allowed because he has already done that, I think.
yeah. Bavrinka is not a bad draw.
Elena, my thesis is about not about tennis at all. It's actually about the early days of American horror movies and how they were influenced by German expressionism. So actually, again. It seems like I have some German themes in whatever I do, but I mean, it's just a complete coincidence. But of course, in the 1920s, Germany was a huge pioneer in movies, and yeah, I'm writing about some silent German horror movies, one Austrian as well, and then how that sort of translates into the US in the 1930s. Yes, Ghosty, because my studies are actually related to the states, so maybe I'm not as harsh on America as you thought, or maybe actually I'm more harsh than maybe that's why I'm actually more harsh because well I know the sort of I've gotten a lot of knowledge about it, and I just figured it sucks or something. That's actually not true, but never mind. Let's stop talking about my thesis there. I don't want to talk about it because I actually have to write it, and I don't want to think about this painful process of writing, which thankfully is coming to an end. I think we were talking about like the matchups. Of course, everyone wants to see Patrick Pericard play Olivieri, right? No,
Yeah,
I mean it's such a good draw for both guys, and the same I guess could be said for Gibson Albot. But I don't think these will be good matches. Oh, Kokinakis Evans is pretty nice. I actually think both guys are really
yeah,
underrated on clay, and
yeah. It's
I think this will
very
be a
nice.
pretty
Yeah.
huge one.
Yeah, it's very nice, but still, I think that that part of the draw is open. I mean, I'm not giving, for example, Babrinka totally. I'm not giving him out if he plays either Kokinakis or Evans in the second round. So I think that it can be a fun section.
Yes, absolutely. And I just mentioned a few of these, but like Medvedev playing Giron, Stricker, Paul, these are such good tests for the youngsters. I guess Kazo against Mute also counts. That's what I'm super excited for as well. And yeah, and I think you earlier touched on Draper Echeverry too, which yeah, for me it's also one of the most exciting ones,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, I agree.
I guess Team Kachin will be the one that most people will look at as well. I don't know if I'm watching it. We'll see. I mean, it depends when what sort of
On
time
the
slot it
schedule.
gets. But I guess it's fine. Just the recent events that team played, especially that loss to Boutet, frankly, in Bordeaux, has really disappointed me. Like you probably know by now that my expectations in regards to team aren't really that high anymore. But yeah, just seeing him that lose to Moutet, who cannot hit a backhand after his injury, that was pretty rough, and it just kind of makes me think that Dominic Thiem is like just an average clay guy right now, and I think Kachin is more or less the same. So they are actually pretty close in their power level strength right now for me. John is saying Evans in the Kokinakis Evans match when we were doing the draw analysis, the live draw ceremony reaction. He was like very, very certain that Evans is the better player over Kokinakis, but it turns out that actually like it's super close for the bookies as well. So I don't know. We'll see. I personally just am hoping for it to go for 5 sets or something. It should be pretty aesthetically pleasing as well. And yeah, I do consider both underrated on clay for sure. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
Ghosty's mentioning the first zombie films. I'm not talking about. I mean, I'm not writing about Night of the Living Dead because it's like way older. I mean, way later, right? 1968. But yeah, there's so much social commentary actually in that movie. Racism. Yeah, just what we're going to do in the event of a catastrophe like this. There's also like in the sequel, Dawn of the Dead. There's like they're like in a shopping mall, and there's a lot of commentary in consumerism, and it's actually pretty like insane when you think about how much this guy put into his zombie movies, and also the next part as well, Day of the Living Dead. Maybe someday I will write another thesis on them because that would be really interesting. Draper has played 5 clay matches on the ATP Tour up to now, Calvin Betten said. That sounds a little low, isn't it? A bit more. I guess it doesn't include Lyon this week, right? But I
Yeah.
don't think it matters really. Like he's going to be a great
No,
clay
he's
player
he's
in the
a
future.
he's a good player, even on clay.
Yeah.
Mm,
It's actually 7 from what I can see, along with Lyon. So yeah, maybe he was talking about it
yeah,
like
so
after
it
the first
was
match against
it was
against
5.
Miller, or yeah, it was 5 at some point this week. But yeah, I actually think Draper will be really strong in the future. He can easily translate to this. Yeah, Shaun of the Dead. I don't think it belongs to the Romero saga of zombie movies, but it's like a horror spoof. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, biggest concern about Draper so far has been his physical issues. Uh, That's the first factor that hasn't helped him in establishing himself as uh, one uh, of the best players in terms of. I think he could have been easily seeded in this Roland Garros, but he hasn't really played that much this year for various reasons.
Yeah, and I gotta run in like 10 minutes. But before we go, let's let's maybe just for fun, because it seems like everyone is doing all these draw predictions and like bracket
Yeah.
predictions right now. Let's just maybe pick our quarterfinals and then semis and then finals. So like, who's in the first quarterfinal for you, Mario?
I hate this, but
I hate it too. I actually don't do it, but it seems like everyone is doing it, and we need something to like close out the show with.
yeah,
So I
I
think
do
it's
it
a good
only
idea.
when I'm bored. But I always say it. Let's say that first quarter. Honestly, I'm struggling to see another quarterfinal, but the Alcaraz Tsitsipas.
I'm going with that as well. Who's in your second quarterfinal?
Djokovic Kachanov.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could say something else. I don't want to agree with you again. I could say just Djokovic Rublev, but I just feel like it's impossible for the top 8 seeds to be in the quarters, right? Something has to happen. Something has to happen somewhere. So even if Kachanov Rublev maybe isn't the biggest upset possible, I guess I will actually have to, yeah, just repeat what you said and also go Djokovic Kachanov, just to like have someone not from the top 8 seeds in the quarters in the top half. And who's your quarter in the third quarter?
Uh, 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 uh,
I guess this is where we will differ because you probably will not go for Rude.
I am telling you. No, I'm telling you that we're going to have the Rune Ruud match.
Uh, I'm also gonna do that, but I guess at least it's gonna make it clearer for us when we're going to try to pick, the semifinalists. So, but I think this is where we will differ finally in the fourth quarter, right?
Yeah. Um,
John is having a lot of fun out there. We can actually see his face on you cannot see him, but we can see him, and like he's just laughing all the time about his own jokes in the chat, and
I'm
it,
going.
it adds to the experience.
I'm going bold for this one.
Okay.
I'm telling you Dimitrov Medvedev.
Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. I like it. I'm telling you, Karatsev Medvedev then. And circling back to the first quarter then, Alcaraz Tsitsipas, who are you taking for the semis?
Alcaraz.
Me too. Then Djokovic Kachanov, I guess easy answer.
Djokovic.
Me too. And Rune Rud, who are you taking? And this is where it gets interesting, I suppose.
Casper.
Okay, I will stick with Rune. I just have to go with like the player who is more exciting to me. I don't think it's really anything scientific, to be honest. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. And then the fourth quarter, you've got Dimitrov Medvedev. I've got Karatsev Medvedev. So are you going Dimitrov or Medvedev?
Medvedev.
I see that look on your face. You were thinking about it. I'm also
Yeah.
thinking about it. I'm also thinking about it, but I'm actually gonna stick with Medvedev too. I think just
Yeah.
the boring
Same.
answer.
Same. Same.
We both have Alcaraz
We are
Djokovic.
trying to make it fun, but just a little
Yeah,
bit.
this draw just really seems like it will not be fun in terms of like the upsets, but it should
Yeah.
give us a lot of thrilling matches between the top seeds. So Alcaraz or Djokovic, this is where the big moment arises.
I'm making an Amarcord choice. Djokovic.
Okay, I will stick with Alcaraz, and then in your bottom half you had Ruud or Medvedev.
Since the conditions, I heard that they are slower this year. I'm going to say
Actually,
Medvedev.
there are very different opinions about it already. Like Medvedev said that they are slower, but at the same time, I've heard a lot of people saying that it's actually quite sunny, it's quite dry, and it's going to be fast. So as
Yeah, I don't
usual,
know.
as
I
usual.
spoke with Koboli also, and
Okay,
which was telling me that. So I don't know, but if they are slower, I'm going with Medvedev
okay.
in the match against Ruud.
And I
I
had Medvedev against Rune. I guess just to be no, it's Rune in the best of five. So no, I'm going Medvedev as well. So actually, you have Djokovic Medvedev in the final. Then I have Alcaraz Medvedev. Who are you taking for the title?
oh my god, this is difficult because I'm making a lot of different thoughts about how this match could go. Uh, so we are saying that conditions can be slower, but if it's dry, sunny, mm, 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 mm. I'm going with Djokovic. I mean, I still struggle to believe back-to-back Roman French Open wins for Medvedev. Sorry.
Yeah, there is a part of me that also wanted to say Medvedev over Alcaraz in the final, to be quite honest with you. But at the same time, I really get what you mean. Like, it just sounds too surreal. And I'm also going to choose Alcaraz. So I guess
Uh,
our quarters were like very similar. We
I
only had
hated
like
this game.
yeah, we only had Dimitrov and Karatsev, which basically didn't matter because, well, they didn't make it to the semis for either of us. And we also differed in Rune Rud, but that also didn't matter at the end because we were actually taking Medvedev to the final.
Yeah,
And
we had
also, of
different
course,
finals.
Alcaraz Djokovic, the winner of Alcaraz Djokovic, who is different for both of us, took the title. But we'll see. Is there anyone who can upset Medi on the way to the finals? Says Ashley. Um,
I don't
Other
know
than Rune Rud, I'm not sure. Like an absolutely picking Karatsev maybe, but
because
like
I'm
he
I'm
would have
I'm
to
not
get to the
really
quarters. So
I'm not really uh, I struggle to watch something like Chilich.
XGH last year,
Yeah, Chilich last year.
Karatsev.
I'm talking
Karatsev
yeah,
is like
Karatsev.
the best equivalent, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But he first needs to get to the quarters, and of course,
And still it's a
such a
round
long way.
further
Yeah.
than the Chilich match.
Yeah, and I guess
I
that's
don't
where we're
know.
gonna finish. Uh-huh.
I really don't like this game, but for a simple reason because I have a really a soft spot for the upsets, but at the same time, uh, I'm still trying to I don't know to make uh, some I don't know some reasons some reasonable choices. So I don't know.
Yeah, Josh is very right that Alcaraz Djokovic has been hard to come by. It's so rare for like the two best players in the world, at least before 2023, because now Medvedev also has an argument. But like since Madrid last year, they actually, hadn't met, even though they were the best two players in the world. Of course, some of that is on Alcaraz's injury, some of that is on Djokovic not being able to play some events, but it is a rare situation. Like when you had Djokovic and Nadal as the first two players in the world, or Djokovic Federer, or well, Federer Nadal, but also Djokovic Federer. I guess there were a couple of years like this, 2014, 2015 mostly. They were meeting like 5, 6 times a year at least, and yeah, in 2022 it just wasn't the case. Anyway, this is where we're going to finish at because I really need to go in a second. But we've given you a show of a similar length to the previous ones. I think. Yeah, I hope it was fun for you as usual. Okay, Jakub, we are going to meet in like 2 minutes on doing our show on the challengers. So hello, and yeah, that's going to be it for today. And we're going to meet you for like another episode of this probably in a week. After the third round or something. I guess we're going to talk about this later, right?
Yeah, you're right. The third round ends on Saturday,
Yeah,
right?
third round ends on Saturday, so maybe after the
So
third round, maybe after the fourth round, we'll like talk about
yeah,
the details later. Let's say that. And yeah, thanks everyone for commenting. Ghosty is asking Freddy or Jason. I was never that big a fan of Nightmare on Elm Street. I definitely enjoy like just chilling with Friday the 13th a lot more, even if it's maybe simpler. I think the highlights of Nightmare on Elm Street are a lot better. Original Part Three, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, but Friday the 13th as a franchise, I definitely enjoy more. Like I am a Halloween fan rather than a Friday the 13th one, though. But Nightmare on Elm Street definitely was not my favorite. Yeah, just out of these three major ones, even though as I said, like the three movies, the highlights of it are probably just some of the smartest written out of the three franchises, which tend to get stupid sometimes, especially in the later instances. Anyway, thank you guys, and thanks Sean for the membership. And did we already get 2,000 subscribers? I think we did, right?
I yeah.
So
John, tell us yes.
yeah, thank you guys for that as well, and see you.
See you.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.